Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to continue on with my Brewdog catch-up that I've started for you since I came home to Scotland for the holidays. So for this one we're actually going to do one of their quite recent beers in fact. So I tried this guy at Brewdog Stirling just the other day. I'm filming this review for you on the 23rd of December, so you'll see it sometime in February, but a couple of days ago I tried this beer on tap, and this one is the Albino Squid Assassin. It's a red rye IPA that comes in at 7.4%. On tap it was very nice, and this is actually the first canned review I'm doing from Brewdog, so I'm really interested to see how it turns out actually, because I've tried a lot of Colorado beers that have been canned and they've been very, very nice, so hopefully Brewdog's ones follow in the same light. I'm sure they've had some great advice on this from the likes of Oscar Blues and things like that, so this one should be a very, very good review, and I hope you guys do enjoy it. But anyway, as is usual with my beer reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you do want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual websites are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews I've done before. There's about 60 or 70 of them, so do check them out if you are particularly interested in Brewdog beer. And there's all the usual social media things, Facebook, Twitter and Untappd, so please follow me on there. Your support would be much appreciated, and if you want to see more Brewdog reviews, do subscribe to the channel. There's many more coming up, as well as many other things, and don't be scared to suggest some beers that you'd like me to review. I will try my best to get a hold of them, because some of the suggestions I've had through the channel have been pretty damn awesome, so I will try my best to try the ones that you suggest to me. But anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewdog, so this brewery is the love child of James Watt and Martin Dickey, and it was founded back in 2007, and their first brewery was in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland. It was just a very small kind of industrial estate unit, but more recently they've moved to their new and custom built facility in Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen. Very, very shiny and very, very big operation these days, and they're also looking to open up a second brewery over in America in Columbus, Ohio. But these guys are known for being a very experimental brewery, and particularly for their strong beers as well. They held the title of World's Strongest Beer on 3 separate occasions, but more recently they've kind of decided to focus more on their flagship beers, which are the Pale Ales, IPAs and double IPAs. They say they're their flagship beers, but I would argue that Brewdog are also very good at producing sweet stouts and imperial stouts as well. Their Paradox beers in particular and the Riptide are a personal favourite of mine, but they're a very, very good brewery nonetheless. But they're largely inspired by the American craft brewing renaissance. If you look at the Stone beers, Brewdog will quite openly reference Stone Brewing Company as being one of their huge influences into getting into craft brewing. And if you taste the Stone beers and then taste the Brewdog ones, you can really feel that influence coming through in the taste of some of their beers. But these days they've got several brew pubs. They started off in 2009 with their home bar in Aberdeen. I was there on the night that it opened, and it was pretty awesome, I have to admit. Don't remember much of that night, of course, because I was a very lowly undergraduate student who liked good beer, so I don't remember much of the night. But that started in 2009. They spread all throughout the UK over the coming years, and they've got several international sites these days. They've got ones in Japan, Finland, Sweden, Norway, I think Germany's opening soon, France, Belgium, Spain, Italy, and also down in Brazil. So there's a lot of exciting things coming from Brewdog on the brew pub front, if you like, so do keep an eye out for Brewdog bars opening near to you. But these guys are the largest independently owned craft brewery in Scotland these days, and they're still expanding due to their Equity for Punks shareholding program. And this is quite cool. They've got a very interesting business model. These guys were basically the first crowd-funded brewery, so with Equity for Punks you can buy into the brewery and get a lifetime discount in the shop as well as in the bars, and this is what they use to fund a lot of their infrastructure developments, new tanks for the brewery, new bars, and all this sort of thing. So Brewdog have a very, very interesting business model, and they have actually released a book on that quite recently. So that's your little bit about Brewdog. If you do want to read a bit more about them, do go and check out the brewery website, and you can buy the book like I mentioned if you want to read further into that. Very interesting if you study business. But let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer now. They've got a big range of beers as well, so you can have a look of those on the website. So this one, as I told you, is the Albino Squid Assassin, 7.4% red rye IPA. It's hopped with Chinook, Citra and Magnum, and it's got a malt base of Carafa, Crystal, Dark Crystal, Extra Pale and rye malts as well. So this one should be quite nice. I'll just let you have a quick look at the artwork of this before we open it up. As you can see, the artwork on this is quite interesting. You can see there's a sort of kraken squid on there, and he's got AK-47s and Uzis and stuff like that. There's an AK-47 there. I think that's I'm not sure what kind of pistol that is, but you can see there's an Uzi there, and I think that's an M5. I'm not sure about that, but it looks very, very nice. As you can see, quite nicely decorated. This one, it doesn't actually say who designed the artwork of this one, but it was quite funny. If you go and check out the article when they released the artwork for this one, the assistant manager in the Brewdog bar in Aberdeen actually got a tattoo of this on his back because I don't know if it was because he liked the beer so much or he just liked the artwork, but very, very cool design, this one, and I will keep the can for this. I do like the Brewdog artwork when they do these kind of more random ones. But without further ado then, let's get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting here. So, oh, you can smell the rye off that as you open it up. This should be very nice. My friend, I was in Brewdog Stirling with my friend and he tried this beer. I had a little sip of his and it was actually really quite nice. I've not tried a red rye IPA in quite some time, so I'm quite looking forward to this. The only other one I can think of that I tried was one from Tempest Brewery, who are another very, very good Scottish craft brewery. So as you can see, this guy has poured a really nice dark coppery red. I'll just turn the light on here and let you have a look at the colour of that one. Maybe you can see it just under the light there. Nice coppery red colour. There is a bit of transparency to it. I'm not sure how well you can see that on the camera there, but there's a finger of a kind of slightly beigey coloured head on this one. It's quite frothy, but there is a little bit of bumpiness to it. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of the head there. But overall, very attractive looking. As I say, you can't really see the transparency. That's a problem filming in this room just with the level of light, but overall, very nice looking beer. And I would say it's probably fair to describe this beer as being a kind of coppery red amber. It looks very, very nice, so you'll have to take my word on it for that, but let's give it a smell and see how we get on. So, without sugaring the beer up, you get some really nice, quite citrusy, hoppy aromas from this one. It's got a nice kind of big floral and sort of resinous character to it. That's the Magnum and the Chinook coming out. You get a bit of the Citra hop too. There's a bit of tropical fruit in there. There's a bit of complexity to it. Yeah, there's definitely a little bit of grapefruit in there, maybe some mango, some of the juicier tropical fruits. Grapefruit and passion fruit I find always give you a kind of sour aroma. They're not the most juicy fruits, they always give you a kind of sour flavour. But with this one, there's a bit more complexity to the things like that. Maybe a bit of peaches, mangoes, apricots, maybe something like that. But you can really smell the sweet malt base in this one. This one is actually a very good blend of aromas between the malt base and the hops. So let's sugar it up a bit and see what else we can get out of this one. Oh yeah, no, when you sugar it up, there's a lot more of that malt base coming out. There's some caramel in there, quite toasted in fact, and the red rye obviously is very, very noticeable. When it's a red rye IPA though, that's exactly what you expect. It's almost a bit like a cakey aroma actually. The guys in one of the Brewdog bars let me try a Cocoa Psycho cake that they made a while ago, and it was very, very nice. And this has a really almost cakey malt base coming out of the aroma here. There's a good bit of red fruity ester in here, kind of figs, raisins, maybe a bit of plums. Could even be a little bit of cherry in there actually, but that's quite subtle. I think this is more on the bready and rye side of things. The fruity esters are definitely present though, and you can pick out a bit of the citrusy and more tropical fruits as well. They come across as quite pungent. The red fruity esters are there, but you have to sugar the beer up a bit more to get those out. But there's a good floral aromaticity to this one, and of course when Magnum and Chinook are in there, that's exactly what you'd expect. And the more complex fruit notes are more likely to be coming from the Citra hop. So yeah, just give the beer a little bit of a smell before you get stuck into it. Yeah, definitely some peaches or apricots or something in there. There is a bit of grapefruit, but not too complex. More of a kind of citrusy one. It's the tropical fruits are just mingling in there, but it smells very nice. Do give it a bit of time to smelling this one before you actually taste it. But without further ado then, let's get stuck into this beer. This is the Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog in Ellon in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. A really nice red IPA. So let's get stuck into this guy. Slàinte. That is quite nice. That comes across really well in the can actually. Yeah, it's got a really nice, quite, how do you say it, quite oily and quite thick mouthfeel. It's got a little bit of creaminess to it, and that suits it really well, I think. Yeah, nicely balanced this one I have to say. When I tried it on tap, it had a lot of caramel flavour coming out of it. You didn't notice the bread so much, but you pick up a lot more of the bready and rye character at this one. It's almost, like I was saying with the aroma, it's almost a kind of cakey flavour in there, but the bread is a little bit more prominent in this, I would say. Yeah, the fruits just blend together really well. There is a bit of the grapefruit in there. There's some orangey citrus, I think, coming out there too, but it's quite a dark orange citrus. It's not really sharp and really juicy like you sometimes get from the Mosaic hop, or the Amarillo hop I should say. It's a little bit more subtle than that, and it just blends together really well. It's kind of when you get the sort of sourness of the grapefruit and the darker character of the orange mixing together, that's what you've got just behind the very front curve of your tongue here. There is a bit more complexity to the tropical fruit flavours, maybe a bit more juicy than that, but there's a lot of interesting things going on here. Some floral and aromatic character, and there's a bit of pine resin just underpinning this beer, and of course that's something that you'll pick up from the Chinook hop. But yeah, overall, the beer is actually very, very smooth. That's one of the big things you're going to notice about this. The middle of your palate is just blanketed, and you can feel that with the crystal malts and the dark crystal in there. It just has a bit more body to it than straight up crystal, and there is extra pale malt in there too. So there's a big bready character in this one, and the rye on top of that gives this beer almost a German rye bread taste, is probably a good way to describe it. That brown German rye bread that just has a little bit of sweetness to it. You can really pick that up in the flavour of this beer. The red rye I've always found gives you a little bit of sweetness as well. But yeah, that's really nice. I mean, that malt base in there is actually quite sweet. You can pick up a little bit of the carafa in there. The carafa gives you a sort of toasted caramel and almost chocolatey flavour, and you can pick that up there. The toasted sort of caramel flavours that you're getting from that just linger there in the malt base. Carafa malt, of course, is a favourite when you make German alt beers as well. And it's very, very nice, and it also gives you a good bit of body to the beer, and that sweetness and that toasted character suits this beer very, very well, and it mixes with the nice, kind of quite distinctive red rye flavours. But if you move out towards the edge of the palate, at the back corners, there's a very smooth, earthy character, just a little bit of dryness from there, and as you move further forward, it gets gradually more grassy and slightly more floral aromatic out of this one, but very, very nice, very smooth around the front curve of your tongue as well. There's a bit more grassiness to it there, I would say, but mainly it's a kind of smooth floral aromatic character, and as you go towards the back of the tongue it does come across as more earthy, but the earthiness of course builds you a good bridge between the slightly toasted caramel and the big bready components of the aroma. Very, very nicely done. There's definitely a little bit of a nutty and slightly woody flavour coming out of this beer too. That's more of a subtle thing though, but just pay attention to that in the middle of your palate. The middle of your palate feels quite wet and quite oily, and it is really quite nicely done. This is a very, very sessionable beer as well. For 7.4%, there's no alcohol warmth to this thing at all. This is dangerously sessionable. You could have quite a few of these and just not really feel anything. There's a little bit of a red fruity ester coming out of this beer, but it's very minimal for me. This beer is more focusing on the hops. There is just a little touch of a slightly red candied fruit ester, maybe even a little bit figgy, and that just comes out in the oily bubble behind the front of your tongue. But for me, most of the fruity character in this beer is a sort of, how would you say, a kind of mix of the tropical fruits and the kind of darker citrus that you get from some of these hops. Chinook has a bit of citrus that comes out with it, which is quite distinctive, and the Citra of course has a quite a citrusy character to it as well, but for me Citra is more of a tropical fruit hop. Yeah, definitely I would stick with that. A bit of tropical fruit, a bit of citrus, but there is just a little bit of a reddish fruity ester. But for me, the fruity character in this really is more citrusy and more sort of tropical as well. A bit of grapefruit, as I said, and there is a little bit of mango and maybe apricots in there too, but that's more subtle. It is more of a kind of darker citrus flavour with a little bit of that grapefruit in there that you're getting from this beer. But overall it's very nice, and like I said, it's quite dangerously sessionable. This one is a more malt forward beer, and all of the flavours in this beer blend together very, very well. So I have to say, good solid beer from Brewdog. I really like the red IPAs, and if you can get that style right, then it's always going to get a huge thumbs up from me, and I do have to admit I quite like this beer. So in terms of the mouthfeel of this one, I would say that it's mid-bodied. Carbonation is very, very smooth in this, almost German style carbonation in this. It's quite an oily mouthfeel though. There is a bit of there is a little bit of alcohol warmth that comes out in a bit later. I'm saying there's no alcohol warmth to it, but as you take a few more gulps of it, you can feel a little bit of the alcohol warmth just down here. It is very nice, but still the beer is quite dangerously sessionable. But there's a big malty sweetness to this one. There's a little bit of dryness there from the malt base too, and there is a bit of dry character from the hops, but overall this is a very, very smooth beer in the mouthfeel and really quite sessionable. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the palate here. So if you enjoy the red rye IPAs but you want a good bit of kind of floral aromatic and quite citrusy and tropical hop character in there, then this is one that you definitely want to go for, and it's one of the more interesting brews that Brewdog have done recently, I would say. They've not done a red rye IPA for quite a long time actually, if they've ever done one. I'm really not sure about that, but this is an interesting brew, and if you enjoy Brewdog's beer then you should try this one, because it's a bit of a kind of leap in the dark for them, I would say, but a very, very good beer. Another very solid effort from Brewdog, I have to say. But yeah, overall I would recommend this to people who enjoy the red rye IPAs, people who like their big bready beers and the sort of floral aromatic and quite citrusy beers. This is one that you're going to enjoy. I've enjoyed it quite a lot. It is nice on tap as well. It's actually very close on tap to what it is in the can, I would say. That's another point I wanted to make in the video. But yeah, go and try it, the Albino Squid Assassin from Brewdog. So I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. As always, let me know in the comment section below your own thoughts on this beer. Always interesting to hear from you guys that are trying the beers with me. And please let me know where you're trying the beers as well. It's always interesting to see that. But I thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Until the next time, please do all the usual YouTube stuff and do check out my channel for more Brewdog reviews. Until the next time though, slange it just now and enjoy some good beers. Cheers.